Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about astrology and the future of the coronavirus. Now, I understand the coronavirus has put a number of people in a very powerful state of trepidation, to say the least. My prayers are out to those who have contracted this and the people and the families of the people that have perished because of this. But I want to talk about in this video that I do see something very auspicious and favorable in the relatively new future. Donald Trump had stated something for the United States. They could be looking at something like an 18-month ordeal connected with the coronavirus. I'm going to say it's going to be a little bit shorter than that. I think Donald Trump may have said that because he may be envisioning that as the worst case scenario in association with this. But I want to talk about some things that might alleviate some fears in terms of this being a long, drawn out, prolonged situation. Well, first off, I think we might hit the peak of this around April 5th, because April 5th we're going to have exact conjunction between Pluto and Jupiter. And when you're talking about Jupiter energies, I've spoken about in previous videos, it can be very benign and benevolent, but it could also be very paradoxical, can have a tendency to enlarge and expand. Now, at this time, it might be very enlarged virus situation because Jupiter can have the tendency to exacerbate or enlarge or distort. Pluto can be connected with viruses. Of course, being in Capricorn, one that has many limitations in connection with this, unfortunately, and causing a lot of despondency and sorrow and sadness. You might see an increased death at this time in connection with this, but in a proliferation of cases with this. But on the positive side, Jupiter will be the conjunction will not be exact, of course, after this day, and you'll have a separation from Jupiter and Pluto. So it could be where you hit that pinnacle, so to speak, that peak around this time. But I see it gradually getting better after that date. Now, although we're going to have the supermoon in Libra on April 7th, 2020. Which of course is just 2 days after this exact conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto. Now, when you're talking about the supermoon being in Libra, of course, supermoon could be like a regular full moon, but it's in its closest proximity to Earth, so it can amplify and intensify effects that would be associated with a regular full moon. You might see, being in Libra, this could be a very strong outrage of social limitations at this time, and you're talking about the strong restriction, intellectual sociability, ingratiating yourselves with others. You're going to have some of that rebellious energy in connection with that Mars in Aquarius going on, and then the Saturn conjunction to Mars, where people want to take action, and as far as matters with their freedom, their independence, doing what they want to do. But you have the Saturn conjuncted, where people are going to feel so inhibited in connection with this. There's going to be a lot of frustration at this point in time. And at this time, and supermoons can amplify and enlarge other astrological energy going on at the time. Keep in mind, Pluto will still be conjunct Jupiter in a fairly tight conjunction at this time. But on a positive note, shortly after this, you're going to have transit Mercury on April 10, 2020. Transit Mercury will be separated. Actually, it had separated before that, but it's at a point where it's separated from as far as a conjunction. It may be at a long conjunction from Neptune at this time. Or actually it is separated in terms of a conjunction. If you're looking at, say, 10 degrees, it might be rather large orb, but because you have a personal planet involved, you're looking at 10 degrees as an orb for a conjunction, it would be separating as far as the conjunction goes. And on the positive end, that could be really a less propensity for breathing issues in association with a disease that can't be eradicated. Neptune can be about diseases. Pisces energy, of course, can be about ones that can't be obliterated. As you know, as of right now, the coronavirus does not have a cure for it. Pisces can be about things that are incurable. The you're looking at, and Mercury, of course, can be associated with breathing issues, and Pisces is associated with mucus as well. And of course, this coronavirus has given people issues with breathing and issues that are associated with mucus. And I think when you have this when you have this conjunction ending, that could be an indicator. When you're talking about the breathing issues being alleviated, that could be a signal that if that does transpire, that other symptoms might be dissipating as well at this time, and this disease might be on its way out slowly but surely. Now it gets me to the point where we're at April 11, 2020. At this point in time, Mercury will be entering Aries. It will be transitioning from more pessimistic, negative, more reticent or taciturn Pisces. And Mercury in Aries can manifest in very positive, fearless thinking at this time. Maybe I see this as more thinking in terms of trying to conquer a problem as opposed to just trying to avoid it and go and have all this isolation and association with it. Mercury in Aries in transit can bring about more pioneering, even innovative, ingenious thinking at this time. And people, it's about being more direct, and you'll have more people being more direct regarding this issue and getting more information. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure you had a lot of direct energy even during the time Mercury was in Pisces, but I think it'll be even more emphasized when Mercury transitions into Aries from the zodiac sign Pisces. Now we're going to April 22nd, 2020. We're going to have a new moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus at this time. This might not be so bad. I mean, I understand Uranus conjunct the moon can have the emotions into the stable. Taurus emotions might be a little more chaotic at this time and unpredictable and very erratic and sporadic. But this could be actually very auspicious because Uranus is connected with our future. New moons in astrology can signify newness, new things happening, having that abundance and surfeit of energy. And you're talking about the conjunction to Uranus moving forward with a lot of that latent Taurus energy. A lot of this energy may have been stored for a while from people due to isolation, being alone and desolate, not really being able to go out much, lack of physical activity. Now, the focus can be right now on moving forward, starting something where you're moving forward toward the future and being in Taurus, perhaps in a very methodical, deliberate, and plotting manner, slowly but steadily. I think this will help me a lot because, since as many of you may know, my rising sign is Taurus, though this won't be conjunct my ascendant at the time, but still I could resonate with this energy very strongly. Now, moving ahead 4 days later, on April 26, 2020, Pluto is going to go retrograde. Now, Pluto, as many of you may know, can be connected with viruses. We might see a reversal in fortune, so to speak, in conjunction with this virus. Power can be lessened at this time. And as far as the United States chart goes, transit Pluto will be pulling away from the natal Pluto in the United States chart. This could also manifest in the reclamation of power. Pluto, of course, is about regeneration and rebirth, and I would say revival as well. I think people will be getting their power back around this time. They'll be reclaiming it around this time. I think that's a very good sign. Another thing astrologically that's going to transpire on April 26, 2020, we're going to have the Sun exactly conjunct Uranus. And remember that the Sun can be associated with our focus, our attention, our power of concentration of power and energy. And given that the Sun will be conjunct Uranus, this could be the focus, the attention, putting that direction on one's future, being progressive. And Sun is also about actions. This could be about now taking action toward the future in a very slow, steady, methodical Taurus manner at this time. It's about moving forward. Now you're also on May 5th, 2020, we're going to have the North Node will be entering Gemini. I think this could be very auspicious in matters with this coronavirus because it's transitioning, of course, from the North Node in Cancer. When the North Node, it being in Cancer, that's more of the future being directed, that the people's destiny basically being tied into introversion, more introspection, more dominated by home-related matters. It's very protective energy. Not going outside. I know something about this. I have a stellium in Cancer in my chart, including the Sun, and it also has Mercury and Mars in that. This is more, really, you have it going into Gemini, and Gemini is more, and you have, and of course, being with the North Node being in Cancer previously, being a feminine sign, it's more negative and pessimistic. Cancerian energy, sadly, can manifest negatively in lamenting and brooding. And now the time for that may be coming to an end with the transition of the North Node in Cancer into Gemini. And this is where you're talking about the future more being tied into short journeys, local transportation, communications at this time. Gemini energy, of course, is more positive, being a masculine sign. In Gemini, the sign could be very vivacious, very lively, very spirited. I see a lot more positive energy right now with this, and people will be more apt to be more loquacious. They'll be more sociable at this time. It's a sign that many people will be more involved in local transportation, in their short journeys, at this time, and there'll be more of a reason to socialize at this time as well. And the thing too is, in Gemini, remember, is about diversity too. So I think people will be more apt to do many more things. There's going to be more about variety. When you're talking about the North Node in Cancer, again, it's more about just really doing what you feel close to home with. And I see more diversification when this North Node does enter Gemini. So anyway, and the thing too is. And I think too with the North Node in Gemini, one more thing I want to say about that, the fact that when of course it starts out at 29 degrees, and really, I mean, you're talking about it could be going back to communications that may have ended. I think is how a lot of that may have manifested in the coronavirus, of course, may have ended some communications with some people, at least temporarily. So about the 29 degrees in astrology can symbolize endings. Now, another thing too, on May 7, 2020, the full moon is we're going to have a full moon in Scorpio. Now, this could actually be another good sign. I know Scorpio seems like, okay, it's all, sinister and about death and things that are, there might be more malevolent energy with this, but the thing about this is Scorpio can actually, all zodiac signs can have positive and negative elements to it. When you're talking about a full moon in Scorpio, this could be about the completion or culmination of a rebirth and revival, of regeneration. People's spirits being revived, people's health coming back. Scorpio can also be about resiliency. This could be a time where something that was associated with being resilient comes to an end, bouncing back perhaps from this coronavirus epidemic, or pandemic, I should say, I guess. Now, it could also be, Scorpio can also be connected with mysteries, conundrums, and problem solving. This could also signify the end of a major problem that affected many collectively, something that may have been deadly. Scorpio, I would say, could also be associated with viruses because, of course, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and Pluto is associated with viruses. So I think this could actually be something very positive. Hold on a moment, people. Well, last but not least, on June 25th, 2020, we're going to have Neptune go retrograde. And Neptune, being in Pisces, of course, can be associated. Neptune can be about diseases, and Pisces can be about ones that can't be eradicated. Now, the thing about this is, going retrograde, we might have another reversal of fortune. I talked before about the one on April 26, 2020, with Pluto going retrograde. Now you'll have Neptune going retrograde as well. And this could be the last leg, the real last legs of this coronavirus, I really believe. I think, and also too, you're going to have Neptune being in Pisces. It's going to be in that Scorpio decan. And Scorpio energy can be associated with resiliency, bouncing back, regeneration, and rebirth. So I think that's a very good sign as well. And this is the time where I could really see this coming at least very close to the end at this time for this coronavirus. And I'm not saying this to give people false sense of security or anything, but it is, this is really something that I really do see based on these upcoming transits. I don't think this is something that's going to go on for the rest of the calendar year. I think it's going to end well before that. I think this can be, you have to remember too, that China had this contained, what was it, like maybe 2.5 months, somewhere around there, from the outbreak. And then the United States can get this done around that time as well. I think this will gradually, slowly but surely diminish. If people can just adhere to what's being stated, doing what they're supposed to do, the social distancing, certain stipulations about not coming out at a certain time through certain countries or what have you. If people can just do what they're requested to do, I think this thing could be contained a lot sooner than later. And of course, I'm looking at this from as far as a non-astrological vantage point or perspective goes. And you hear about a lot of this rebellious energy and these younger people going out and doing partying or what have you, maybe even when they're not supposed to, and ingratiating themselves, others in groups. And at this time, it's not a time to do that, people, because the thing about it is you want to continue to live your life, and if you're going to do that, you might diminish that possibility. You'd rather, if it was me, I'd rather stay inside a little bit longer and live inside than be dead the rest of my life, basically, if you understand what I'm saying. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.